What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. We missed him yesterday. Glad to have him back today. And that is the man from neworleans.football, Nick Underhill, the voice of your New Orleans Saints. And Nick, the winds of fortune are fickle, and they blow one direction, then they blow the next. And I gotta say, I'm feeling pretty damn good this week. I see a 5-4 record. The rest of the NFC South fallen. Josh Dobbs on the menu. I mean, is it not fascinating what difference 7 days can make in this league?
I kind of feel the same way I did 7 days before the game.
No. You're trying to be objective, Nick. You have to give yourself over to the winds of fate, to the roller coaster. Like, nobody's on a roller coaster, and when they're on the drop, they're like, oh, this is, I'm going to say, no. Like, you have to feel every single moment. And so today, we're dropping and having fun, because that's the fun part of the ride. You get, so in this analogy, it's actually inverse. Like, the drop is winning. But whatever. Anyway, you get it.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm with you. Like, I'm glad they're. It's more fun when they're in first place. It's better to do the job when they're in first place. You can actually be creative and write stories when everybody isn't ready to burn everything down. So you can explore some things, you can analyze. Like, it's a much better atmosphere. But like, being real, like, I don't feel significantly different about where the Saints exist right now as opposed to where they were before this game, because I'm looking at them like, okay, what do they need to do to get into January and win a playoff game? Like, I think the defense. Yeah. If it's starting fast, if it's being consistent, and I think they will at some point. I think I have faith in the defense at all times. DA is going to figure that out. Great defensive coach. Like, I feel like they can get in the playoffs and dismantle an opponent. I don't know that I feel like the offense is going to be able to step up and do its thing and be able to complement that yet. And I don't think this game – I think this game was almost a step away from it. You had 5 turnovers. You had 1 penalty for 5 yards. If I told you they were going to do that against the Bears going into the game – you would have guessed that they won by 20-some points. They white-knuckled their way to victory, and they had to get a pick at the end of the game to seal it. So I see a gesture, and I'm gonna stop talking to you. I'm gonna let you jump in.
That's fair. That is fair. But we can't lose sight. You still forced 5 turnovers and had 1 penalty. So, in a vacuum, that is good. You can be upset with the final score, but, that's still winning football.
And they still had 13 running back runs, take away the 13-yarder by Alvin Kamara, and they averaged 1.58 yards on the other 12. And that's a huge, massive problem. And at some point, look, one of the things I thought, and I think they're starting to do this better every single week, is that they're moving the ball over the middle of the field now. And there was a lot more of that this week. It was their second most productive game of the year in terms of receptions, most productive in terms of yardage in that 20 yards or less over the middle range. I think that's huge for them. I think that's something that's going to carry them forward a little bit. Derek Carr was 100% on in-breaking routes this week. That's been a huge issue for them. The timing on those have been off. So there is progress. There's things to hold on to. But if you're averaging 1.58 yards per carry on most of your runs, at some point a team's going to clog the middle of the field. And now you got to win on the outside, and they're going to dare them to do that. And I think that's going to be the next step of this offense if they don't figure out how to run the ball. So I think the major issue in week 1 was the offensive line. Everyone's going to say, well, they're blocking better in the pass protection. There's less pressure. That's true. But there is a whole nother aspect to this that they have not figured out, and you got to get that going so the offense can be what it needs to be. So I think there's signs of hope, but there's still signs of ineptitude. And at some point,
that's fair.
I don't know. Maybe this is just who they are. Maybe it's going to be inconsistent all year, but I'm kind of holding them to that standard of January. So it's not being negative. Like, I respect the talent on the team, and I think they should be better than they are, and we're going to hold them to that standard.
Well, look, when they start clogging the middle, just run Kalen Saunders in the flat. I mean, he got double teamed last game. Just run him in the flat and let him take that defense out of there. I actually love that package. It's been fantastic.
But honestly, like we were talking earlier, Nick, I think Mario said like a Taysom Hill game, and it was that phrase. I want that to go away because Taysom Hill is now such a part of this offense, and for the first time, you feel like they have a real good feel of who he is and what he can do. Mm-hmm. And when you talk about the rushing woes, certainly, but Taysom Hill still had 11 for 52, 4.7. Yeah. You get that extra blocker in there when he's playing quarterback, and the Saints need all the extra blockers that they possibly can get. Jamal Williams blocked his ass off as well anytime Taysom had the ball and he was in the backfield. So that is somebody that understands the assignment as well. you got to be smart with it. You can't fall into tendencies. And you wonder, will somebody figure this out and stop it? Well, they haven't yet. It's got to be a focal point of what you try to do in certain situations on the field.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, it's been multiple years, and who cares if you got to tell if they can't stop it? Like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, just do it and do it. Keep doing it more. Like, I do think that they've started to figure out, and that's a huge part of it. Like, kind of knowing how to use Taysom. I do think that they've kind of started to figure out, especially the last like 3 or 4 games, it's kind of like their identity and what they want to be. And there is a little bit more creativity. I think some of the play calling is a little bit better. One of the things I thought was super underrated in this game was Pete Carmichael kind of figuring out and having the feel for like, okay, we need to go tempo here, and they did it, and they went down and they got points. That was just kind of a good feel and a good understanding of what your team is, what it needed, and how to get it going. That's something that I think they should try to do a couple times every half. Like, it's not a full game thing, but like have it in there, have it be like kind of like a regular go-to wrinkle and get your offense going. But the Taysom stuff, like they've been getting to it earlier, and good, because like it's taken way too long to kind of just be like, okay, this guy's a really good football player. Let's use him early in games and consistently and have him on the field throughout. And that's the one thing they do have going. So lean into it more. Let it be a primary part of the identity. I agree with you 100%. It doesn't, is this going to be a Taysom game? Shouldn't be a question. No one's asking like, is this going to be, is Alvin Kamara going to get touches? Yeah, he's going to get touches. Taysom should always get touches. It shouldn't be like, does it fit? How does it go in? Force it to fit. Make it fit. Find out that it doesn't fit and go away from it, but go into the game knowing you're going to do this every single week.
Love that. Yep.
Agreed. I mean, it's not that hard, Nick. The Saints are 18-1 when you run Taysom 7 times. Through the first 7 plays, just run him and then kick it into cruise control and just chill.
There you
You're
go.
going to win. I mean, it's very simple, guys.
Hey, he's also become like a real option as far as a receiver. Also, like when you look at his run blocking grade from this game, I mean, he had the same grade as Juwan Johnson had. I mean, like, so he's doing things that help you break out of tendencies as well.
Yeah, he's balling, man. He needs to be a primary piece of the offense, and it's just it is so insane. We were screaming about this last year.
Yeah, we were.
And now they are. Like, it's just like, sometimes it doesn't always got to be that hard. Like, just use your good players. But yeah, he's Mr. Do everything. He is catching the ball better. And the one I would never sneak. Give the ball to Taysom behind the line. Like, just do a handoff there on 4th and 1. Let Taysom run up the gut. Let him get ahead of steam and go up like that.
Yeah.
You should just use him as the weapon that he is, and trust it and lean into it. And Taysom Hill is the identity of the offense. Like,
am I crazy?
That's a good identity.
Did they do this where like Derek Carr walked out to the edge like he was making a call to the receiver, and then Taysom runs under center and snaps it? Did they do that? Am I making that up?
I don't know that I've seen that.
Okay, they should do that.
They ran a sneak with Derek Carr when Taysom was a couple of feet away from him.
Yeah,
they never need to do that
again. They tried
again.
to hurry it up. Yeah. I felt like there was probably a false start on there somewhere. It was pretty gross looking. Nick, what about this? We have to, I mean, I can't believe we've gotten this far into it and not discussed him, but Paulson Adebo. I mean, the kid's on fire right now. And if I remember correctly, he set out COVID, right? And he was kind of viewed as maybe a first-round talent before that. He ends up going in the 3rd round. You're now getting massive production out of this cat.
Yeah, he finally looks like kind of what everybody thought he was going to look like. And last year, that was the guy all through training camp we were hyping. Everybody said he was like the camp MVP. The players said it. People in the building. Everybody watching like thought he was in, like on the midst of a breakout season. And then he has these injuries and he kind of gets slowed down and it's never fully there. I think we're kind of seeing the fully formed version of him right now, and the physicality's been great. He's had 6 penalties this year. I mean, that's always going to be kind of a part of his game, but it's not outrageous. And when you're making plays, it's a little bit easier to live with a few penalties. So I think he's covering great. I think this 2-game stretch is probably as good as anybody's had at cornerback for the Saints the last several years. But the bigger testament to this, I think what we're seeing in the secondary is they lead the league in picks. They made the right decision, get rid of Chris Richard and bringing in Joe Woods and Marcus Robertson. Like that was a very risky move, I thought, for the coaching staff. It would have been safer to stay status quo. You had a good defense. You're making plays. You aren't rocking the boat. When you make a move like that, it kind of puts pressure on you as a coach, and it kind of has to work out. And if it doesn't, those are the kind of things that can cost you your job ultimately. That was a great feel for what they needed. And I think the secondary is the strength of the team, and it's allowing you to get by with like having no pass rush kind of whatsoever. So that secondary is the strength of the team, and Debo's a huge part of it. And I like the way he's playing. I mean, you see the anticipation, the ball skills, like everything's kind of starting to come together for him. And I think we're seeing kind of what he was supposed to be. Like you said before that COVID season, sat out, and then the rookie year was a little, he didn't get the vaccine, so he's like a little bit separated. Like, it was just kind of slow going, but like you see it now what he can actually be.
I want to brag on Carl Granderson here as well, because outside of Adebo, I thought he might have been the best player on the defense for the Saints on Sunday, and I just love watching him play football. I just love that every single play looks like the biggest play of his life, and Cam Jordan's just been waiting for one of those guys, those first-round picks, to pop, and they didn't pop.
Well, that's how Cam plays as well, right? Like, I think that's fair to say with Jordan. Like,
no,
without
question. But that's what I'm saying.
No,
like,
that's what I'm saying as well.
He wanted somebody to match his intensity of what he was doing, and you had Davenport. No. Peyton Turner, absolutely not. Even like Isaiah Foskey in the second round this year, like, he still has time. We'll see what it is. But he's been waiting for a Carl Granderson to be on that other side. And now you've got these two alphas that are out there playing every play like it potentially could be their last snap. And, man, I just wanted to brag on him because I watched the Saints game with my oldest son, and I said, hey, watch number 96. That's how you play football every single time.
He just kind of like engulfs people, like the energy and the intensity and all that stuff. Like, you're right. It's just it's something that you see every single play. He's going so hard every single snap, and definitely is coming to his own. I think they would be in massive trouble if they didn't have Granderson right now. Honestly, I mean, because nobody else is really getting anything done. He's the one guy that you can count on week in and week out. Nathan Shepard's got 2 sacks. Like, that hasn't kind of really been what you want it to be. Colin Saunders is like a fun story, but there was talk this offseason that he was going to maybe be a little bit more penetrating on the interior. I don't know that we've really seen that. Cam really hasn't gotten his production going. They haven't found that blitz player, the pressure player they have every single year. Like, it was DeMario for a while, then it's Caden Ellis. Like, who is it? Like, I thought it was maybe going to be Pete Werner. He got a sack week 1.
Yeah.
He hasn't been a part of it. DeMario kind of really hasn't been a huge part of it. I thought Alontae Taylor might have some to do with it. I thought maybe they try to get like Tyron or another safety involved somehow. That hasn't really worked out. So, like, it is Granderson. And the smartest thing I think this team did was signing him to that contract at the beginning of the season. They got him for, what was it, $13 million a season?
Yeah.
You see Montez Sweat, they decided to give up a top 40 pick to get him and a top 5 defensive end contract, and he has the same numbers as Granderson right now. So, like, that was they were like really, really ahead of that, and it was smart. If they would have waited, it would have cost them way more money.
Yep.
He's gonna end up being a bargain for him, and he is one of the guys. Like, I think you've just seen the progression year after year after year, and I think he's kind of legitimately a building block of this defense now going forward into that second wave. The problem is you got one guy now. Like, who are the other ones? And you just named them, all the disappointments. Like, there's no Davenport, there's no Peyton Turner. Foskey still has time, but it started off kind of slow. Like, they should be in a position where they're ready to make this transition post Cam, and like Cam's kind of he's getting a little bit older. You don't really have anybody else in that pipeline. That's maybe the biggest issue facing this team next offseason. Like, they have to find another pass rusher.
I remain in love with Demario Davis, another guy who sets the tone, a la Granderson and Cam Jordan. Nick, I have to ask you this: are the Saints looking at other kickers at all?
Not yet. They should be.
Where is that hesitance to even, like? Are they worried about, like, upsetting him psychologically? Like, where is the – because it feels like if you had a vet who had performed on the same level, you'd be working out other guys. You'd be bringing in other guys to challenge him. Why is there this sort of overcommitment to a position that normally coaches do not commit to?
I don't get it. I mean, I don't understand it. I don't get it. Like, I would at least look. I would have had the guys in here working out to look at him. And maybe you don't make a change, but you send the message, hey, you got to be better. And if you have a kicker who can't handle that, like, psychologically, and I'm not saying Grupe's that guy, but if, like, that's part of your concern, well, I don't want to rattle him. Well, you're going to be rattled when you go out there and you need to hit a 47-yarder to win the game. So if you can't handle some guys coming in and that kind of pressure, so I don't get it. I don't understand it at all. Like, I would at least get him here, look at him, find out, see if there's somebody that gives me a feeling, something, because, that's 2 now. Like, that's multiple kicks and pressure situations. Like, it's great you hit the ones when there's no pressure on, but you got to hit the pressure ones, and he hasn't done that consistently. So I would at least be exploring my options. It's baffling to me that this is kind of like, I don't get it. Look, I thought when I looked at that one, and I'm not a special teams guru by any means, and we'll hear from Rizzy tomorrow, the special teams coordinator. I thought the hold was like a little bit crooked on it, but like, I don't know if I'm looking for things that aren't there, but regardless, then like your whole operation on special teams this year has been really underwhelming to me. And I don't get why this is like the area where they want to stand pat with it. Like, it's such an easy way to just kind of send a message to the rest of the team too. at a position where, I'm not diminishing their contributions, but it's at a position where there's probably another guy that's at least comparable. And you say, hey, we aren't going to tolerate this, and you bring him in, or you make a move. I don't get it. It's stunning to me that it's kind of went this far without like any pressure on that position.
I'm glad you mentioned the hold there, because it reminded me of a story for me. Because like a veteran kicker, like he knows exactly what it's supposed to look like. He doesn't allow it to affect him. So like in San Diego, me and Weddle were the backup holders, and so we had to practice it after every single practice. And we had Nate Kading, who was a veteran kicker. I mean, he was a Pro Bowl guy. And I remember being out there one of the first times, and I'm holding whatever, and then I hold, and it was a bad hold. And he, in his approach, he said nope, but still made the field goal. Like he knew, like on his approach, he could see it, and he adjusted it. Yeah, he adjusted it in his approach and where he's supposed to hit the ball. And I just remember him saying nope. And it was still like a 40-yard field goal. So, like, that sounds crazy what Nick's saying, but he's exactly right. Like, even if it's a bad hold, it's on the holder without question. But, like, a veteran kicker doesn't panic. He just adjusts, and he just goes through the ball.
Well, yeah, and like, kickers just have to understand they're never going to get the luxury of, like, that was actually on the holder. Like, unless it's, like, egregious, it's just not going to happen. Nick, real quick here, Vikings game Sunday, how we feeling?
They should win this game. I mean, man, look at the list of the quarterbacks they're playing the rest of the season.
Yeah,
it's insane.
so
it is
good,
an insane list of guys. Yeah, I mean, they should be able to take advantage. So if the offense just keeps showing a little bit of confidence, see the defense starts fast, they should be able to win the game for sure.
The Battle of Lindisfarne back once again this Sunday. Nick Underhill, neworleans.football is the website. It's an incredible site. Mike Triplett, Brooke Kirktroffer, the entire production team, everybody over there at NOF does a great job. You can catch me there on Thursdays talking LSU. Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the two guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.